Well, hello Disney fans. This is Lori and I'm Drew, here with the Disney Rabbit Hole, bringing you the week's Disney news. On tonight's live stream, we're going to talk about some of the news, the highlights coming out of D23, the Disney fan conference that happened this past weekend. And out of the news from that, we're going to talk about some new meet and greets coming to parks. We're also going to talk about Baymax and a new Big Hero 6 themed area coming to one of the Disney parks as well. And also some big Hatbox Ghost news as well.
Yeah, and if you like what we're doing, we would invite you to strike that like or subscribe. Subscribing's even better. We're trying to do these live streams weekly. This is our third, so we haven't missed a week yet. Look at us.
Yeah.
And throughout the show, if you are joining us here live, we invite you to comment. We love to interact with you guys on the live stream, and we come back to the comments later in the show. Always have a little, it's like an icebreaker. A question of the night. If you don't have anything else to say in the comments, you can talk about this. The question being, are Disney parks experiencing a creative crisis right now? Coming out of D23, one of the criticisms might be, we didn't get big enough news.
Yeah. Of the news that came out specifically for the parks, the Disney parks during D23, it was underwhelming. I mean, I don't think anybody was really super jazzed about the news that came out.
You should still stick around for this entire broadcast because we're going to talk about the totally jazzy parts.
And not only that, but we're going to talk about some super fun stuff toward the end of the show as well. Okay.
Let's get into the news.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's definitely do some news. Okay, well, let's start at the top. Which meet and greets, right?
Yeah, meet and greets. That was actually a lot of the news coming out of D23. They announced quite a few, but some of the most exciting, well, probably the most exciting, maybe it's just my opinion, but the Mandalorian and Grogu are coming to Galaxy's Edge in November in Disneyland. I assume they might eventually make their way to the Magic Kingdom, but this announcement was Disneyland specific. And, I mean, ever since we saw Grogu, Baby Yoda, we all wanted to meet him. So I'm excited to see that one. I assume we're talking adorable puppet here.
Right. Grogu is like on Mando's hip, kind of.
Yep.
So I'm going to assume that there's puppetry.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that one. And I mean, the Mando costume is just so impressive he'll be nice and shiny. I assume they say they'll be walking around Galaxy's Edge, which is what a lot of the characters do in a pretty authentic way. You can just kind of interact with them. Not sure, given the popularity and the cuteness of Grogu, he might have to be behind a barrier. Otherwise, he's going to get poked and get his ears pulled.
Yeah, and he does seem like at grabbing level.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, if you're like 4, that's going to be hard to resist. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, what are the other meet and greets coming? Because there's a couple others.
Starting next week, so almost immediately, we're going to be seeing Smart Hulk at Avengers Campus in Disney California Adventure. And that's just funny because it's not the Hulk, it's Smart Hulk.
Specifically Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
Which is probably the most charming of all the Hulks.
Right. And he's extra relevant now because he's making a lot of appearances on She-Hulk. I mean, we saw him in the Avengers towards, well, I guess around the
time travel stuff, right?
Yeah, the Endgame phase, we started seeing some Smart Hulk, but now he's back in a series regularly. I'm just kind of excited to see the costume because it's got to be kind of a larger than life deal, and it's always it's always impressive to see how they do the big guys. Like, I'm even impressed by the big Sully that they have walking around at DCA sometimes. That one's cool to me, and Smart Hulk's gonna be way harder to achieve.
I'm looking forward to it also, and I definitely want to get my picture taken with Smart Hulk.
Oh, totally.
So excited.
Yeah, and then, okay, let's talk about the, non-character meet and greet news. Figment.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's coming, Figment, we love Figment. We
He's
all
purple.
love Figment.
He's cute.
Disney knows that we love Figment and that we talk about him a lot.
Yeah.
He's the purple dragon of Epcot. We buy anything that you slap his face on, we buy all of it. So by the end of next year, you'll be able to meet him in the park.
Yeah. That was the big D23 announcement, was a Figment meet and greet coming to Epcot sometime at the end of next year.
But
I mean,
here,
I'll take it.
we're
but
looking at a photo of a
That's
meet
the
and
thing.
greet Figment right now. Like what are you doing for like a year and a half?
Making a new one. Maybe they wouldn't pay for the expedited shipping.
Yeah. Are you saying it's a supply chain issue? Okay, well anyway.
Potentially.
Figment's coming. So, speaking of meet and greets.
Yeah, so Disney California Adventure, this was another D23 announcement. The Pacific Wharf area of Disney California Adventure at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim is going to be re-themed to San Francisco from Big Hero 6, and there's going to be a Baymax meet and greet in that area. So this picture that's up right now is a little concept piece made by artist Sam Carter, and Sam kind of theorized a Baymax-style spinner ride in the middle of Pacific Wharf because somebody was wondering, like, what's the ride going to be here in this land? There's not really room for anything there. I mean, it's essentially a food court, and so there might be space for the meet and greet unless something is taken out and extra room is made. So Sam did that, that concept art to show, like, yeah, maybe you could put something in there. It's not a lot of room, but maybe you could do something with it. Yeah. And it just got me to thinking that, like, this area is already San Francisco, pretty much.
It is. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's the Pacific Wharf, San Francisco. You got Ghirardelli, you got the Bodine Bakery.
Yep. There's a Chinese food restaurant, there's a Mexican restaurant, there's a margarita place, and that's basically it. I mean, there's a bunch of seating, and then there's a Karl Strauss beer truck, which I have ordered many adult beverages from, and presumably that's going, and presumably a lot of the existing stuff will go too.
Well,
but maybe the theming won't be like super heavy.
Well, we say presumably, but yeah, it's all San Francisco, so they can kind of pick, they might rename some stuff, but they can kind of pick and choose what they want to leave. They're making their own rules on this one.
Yeah,
So.
You can see the bridge here, the blue bridge there that they call the Earthquake Bridge. That is what's going to be rethemed.
That's me buying some of those many, many beers that we talked about.
I will miss the Karl Strauss beer truck. I mean, unless they can figure out a way to Big Hero 6 a beer truck into the land, I'm assuming that one's going to be driven into storage.
There'll be plenty of alcohol in San Francisco. But yeah, I mean, I'll look forward to seeing Baymax. I think that'll be a cool meet and greet. And I guess the theming of this area is just another step in what's been happening since. Did it start with Cars Land, I want to say?
Well, I mean, if you want to go all the way back to like the origins of this happening at DCA, it kind of started when they replaced Superstar Limo with Mike and Sully to the Rescue.
Sure.
Because Superstar Limo, as maligned as it is, and if you haven't seen Superstar Limo or know what Superstar Limo is, go check it out. There's a few videos on YouTube, like full ride-throughs.
You must.
It is
yourself.
like astonishingly bad. But they went in and just like barely overlaid Monsters Incorporated over the top.
Yeah. So, I mean, California Adventure is near and dear to my heart. We started going there in 2005, basically, and went there a lot because no one was there.
It was really empty, like most of the time.
And really, we just wanted to, we lived in Southern California. We just wanted to get a beer and go sit and enjoy our evenings.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And the original concept of the park was just a love letter to California. You had an area with the redwoods, and you had Malibu, and you had the Pacific Wharf, and you had the Hollywood area, which you still have, but just slowly, over the years, they've started, every time they replace something, they do so with a branded property, something you've seen in the movies. They've
Right.
slowly worked their way around the park doing these overlays. So it makes total sense that Pacific Wharf is becoming San Francisco, and honestly, it's a more natural transition than a lot of them have been. I'm
Yeah.
not mad about it. It's just progress.
Well, is it progress? And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to our question of the night. And that question of the night is, are Disney parks in the middle of a creative crisis? Because, the idea to turn the Pacific Wharf area into San Francisco, like, it's barely a stretch. It's almost like 5 people sat down at a table, and how quickly could they come up with the Disney movie that has San Francisco in it? And they came up there, oh, San Francisco, we've got Big Hero 6. So, I'm not saying that, I'm with you, it's not like it's a bad idea, it's just like the area now, there's no TV or movie association to it. And with the way that the updates are going, it almost feels like there is no part of any park that's safe from that.
So if you're watching, let us know. What do you think? Good thing? Get more characters, get more movies into the parks? I'm not going to judge.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. You want to see your favorite movies. But let me know in the comments. What do you think?
All right.
What
Let's move along, because the other big news that came out of D23 that, nobody expected at all was the announcement that the Hatbox Ghost is coming to the Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando at Disney World. Right now, the Hatbox Ghost is exclusive to the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And the Hatbox Ghost is an interesting story. There's some fun lore there.
It is, and yeah, I mean, no one really saw the announcement coming. I don't think it knocked, it didn't knock anybody on their butts with like, what? It's an enhancement to an existing ride.
Yeah.
Cool. But what is interesting to discuss is the Hatbox Ghost history. It's almost a thing of legend. The Hatbox Ghost was in the Haunted Mansion when it originally opened. It was this spooky specter character. His head disappears and appears in the hat box he's holding and then moves back and forth. Why it's a story is when the ride opened, the effect didn't work at all. It worked in complete darkness, which is what the Imagineers built it in. But when they got it into the ride and all the ambient light hit it, it just didn't work. You've got a good piece of art of the original scrolling through here.
Supposedly when they installed it right across from the bride, and the bride was pretty bright, and the Imagineers had tested it off-site, like you said, in total darkness where it worked great, but then when they put it into action, they were like, uh-oh, a whole bunch of ambient light spilled in and just totally spoiled the effect. So right here is Yale Gracie, who is the creator of this illusion, and Yale was known as the Imagineer who came up with these really simple yet very clever gags.
Yeah. So it didn't work. So it was Disney, so they were like, "Well, get it out."
Yeah, and they
so
just took it out right away.
Within days, the Hatbox Ghost was gone from the Haunted Mansion, seemingly for good. And therein it became this thing of legend because people remembered seeing it. They're like,
did I see it, or did I not see it?
And it was impressively creepy and close up compared to a lot of the other ghosts.
Yeah.
So people would say, like, I swear there was this super creepy ghost with its head doing something weird.
Yeah.
And, people told stories about it. But, there was no Google, and there weren't, 40,000 TikToks that could show you that it was there. So it became a story people told about the Haunted Mansion, and it built over the years. It almost developed this culture behind it. So fast forward to, I think it was 2015, around the 60th anniversary, they brought him back. They hired an Imagineer who was enamored with Yale Gracie's work and turned him loose on hey, still keep it simple and practical. but make it work, and let's bring him back. And that's exactly what he did, following old models and just kind of perfecting the actual illusion. And it's fantastic. And when it was unveiled, that was really exciting. That's going back to like Disney roots and like truly respecting the fans.
It's a great effect. Yeah, it's
a great effect.
It's simple. It fits with like the tech of the ride, even though it came way later.
Yeah, they could have done it completely different, but they didn't. They're like, we're going to make this practical effect work really well.
Yeah.
And they did, and it's a beautiful touch to the ride. So now they're bringing it over to Magic Kingdom, where it's never been.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, you know,
Are you pro or con on the Magic Kingdom Hatbox Ghost?
I guess, you know, I feel so. I'm a big fan of the Hatbox Ghost, and I love the story behind it. So part of me wants it to remain this special little Disneyland thing. Disneyland doesn't get as much attention as it should, because it's like it's the little original. And then on the other side of the country, there's this massive version that does everything. So I don't know.
People will fight you for making that statement.
I know.
Well, there are a lot of people who feel that Disneyland gets too much attention.
Really?
Well, almost because of that exact reason. Like, it's small, and so the fan base at Disneyland is really different than the fan base at Disney World, and like it's really like their competitors are different. It's like just a different business.
Look, having lived in Southern California for 15 years was long enough for me to start taking ownership of Disneyland, and I get that, and I like that the Hatbox Ghost was special there.
Yeah. I'll play devil's advocate and say that it is a really fun effect. And people love the Haunted Mansion. It's one of my very favorite attractions. Is it my favorite? I don't know. I mean, it's great. And so to bring an enhancement that is kind of just sort of, I mean, does anybody like, I don't like the Hatbox Ghost. There's probably somebody out there, but I feel like it's a popular addition. So, you know, like let's add it for the majority of the fans that, you know, because it's like most people that see the Haunted Mansion are seeing the Magic Kingdom one here in the United States.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And you know what? Disney's got such a track record lately of pissing everybody off with every announcement. Like, just give them something they want.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective. So let us know in the comments if you're watching live and you have an opinion about the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah.
Does it belong everywhere, or should it stay in Disneyland where it was born?
Let us know. Let's talk some community.
Yeah.
So the community of people that subscribe to the Disney Rabbit Hole and leave comments, it's great. We love reading through the comments for the most part. Not all of them are nice, but some of them really are.
It's YouTube. We average out better than a lot of YouTube channels on constructive, kind, wonderful Disney fans.
It's true. And we like to pick a comment each week to show here, and this week's is from Christine Martin on the video. You never noticed these details on Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And Christine says, I think my favorite part's when you first see Jack Sparrow as you turn the corner. It looks like he's wearing a dress, which it does. Jack's head kind of peeks over the dress dummy. And I don't know, I mean, I think Jack looks pretty good in dress.
I would love to see Johnny Depp in drag more. So, yeah.
I think maybe Johnny Depp would like you to see Johnny
I think he'd be
Depp.
perfectly fine with it. So we should go for that. Do you want to tell people how to support the channel?
I do. If you dig what we're doing, a great way that you can support us, the easiest way is to strike that like, but another really good way that you can support the channel right now, if you're watching the live stream or any of our live streams, is with one of the super stickers or the super chats. Is that what they're called? I lost my place in the script. Oh, it got scrolled way up, that's why. Well, anyway. That's how you can support the live streams, and on many of our videos, not all of them, but most of them, below the videos there's a little like button that you can click on and make a donation. And right now we are saving up for a trip to Disneyland Paris, because we've never been, and we want to go, and we want to shoot lots of video, and we'll be able to do that with some support, I hope. Okay. There we go.
Well, all right. Well, our question, shall we revisit our question for the night? And that are the Disney parks having
Nope, comment of the week.
That's okay, we'll get there.
Question of the night.
Are the Disney parks in the middle of a creative crisis? I think this might be a fairly big question.
Yeah, it's pretty broad.
To be posing on a live stream.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I mean, it's something we've been talking about, like, you know, when neither of us want to actually be doing our jobs, we start debating things like this. What's your take on it?
My take is that the Disney parks are experiencing a creative crisis in the sense that they're really like, creativity is not the number one requirement for bringing new attractions to Disney parks. The number one requirement seems to be basing it on an existing movie or TV show. And I think that's annoying a lot of fans because if you follow that philosophy, or like let's say Disney had always followed that philosophy, we'd never have Space Mountain, the Matterhorn, we'd never have what are some
Pirates of the Caribbean,
Jungle Cruise,
Haunted Mansion.
So these attractions were these
Small World
original ideas. Many of them became movies and TV shows and comics and other things. And so when you start with the movies and the TV shows and then let the parks be inspired by those, it makes the parks a different thing. Mm-hmm. So like instead of parks being built to be really great theme parks, the parks are being converted into places where you can go and experience your favorite Disney-owned movies and TV titles. I don't think that like there's anything automatically defective with that philosophy. I'm just disappointed because I'm one of the people that really likes the theme park part of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the new attractions that are being rolled out, not all of them, but a lot of them just really aren't for me. I mean, like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure would be a pretty good example of that. Like the ride, it's a trackless ride system that takes you kind of from room to room where you watch the action unfold on these giant 3D screens. Like just talking about it makes me want to barf. Like I can't ride rides like that. First of all, I don't enjoy screen-based rides. And second of all, like, I just kind of can't because of motion sickness. So if you've ever ridden Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that's about the degree that I can handle. Yeah. Like there's this little scene where you like ride down a river and go over a waterfall. And by the time that's over, I'm just like, okay, it's time to get out of this little spot here.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I mean, the screen-based attractions don't work for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know, Disney's also doing really interesting things with audio animatronics, especially abroad right now. Mm-hmm. Like there's a Zootopia ride being developed, and during D23 they actually did show some footage of Officer Clawhauser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looks great.
And that animatronic is amazing, and they showed off some footage of an Elsa animatronic from a Frozen attraction at an international park as well. So like cool things are happening, but like also really boring things are mainly happening as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and here's the thing. The people working for Disney and putting these attractions together are some of the most creative minds on the planet. But they work on projects. They are told what they're going to work on. And I think very rarely are they put in a room and said, just something. You know, instead it's the, hey, we got to do a Guardians of the Galaxy ride. Tell us what would be awesome. I think that's where they get to funnel their creativity. They're being told to funnel it around a property. It's like, be inspired authentically by this movie and create something cool. And they do, but the nugget of the idea is already there. Like it's a question of which way the creativity is flowing. And
Right, where is it originating?
And once upon a time, it originated in the rides. It originated with Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Jungle Cruise, and nothing gets to just be its own thing anymore. If something is popular, you put it into different forms. You put it into a movie, you merchandise it, you spin it out every way you can, and it used to start with the ride. But now it starts with the movie. And I don't know if that's wrong, it's just what's happening. And I mean, I know how these things work. Like, a movie was really popular. Everybody around the world can see this movie in their living room, and children all over the world can say, oh my God, I love this, I am Elsa, and then they hear that Epcot is getting a Frozen ride, and they just drag their parents by the hair to Epcot because they must experience it in real life wearing their princess dress. And I get it. It makes perfect financial sense.
It makes terrible theme park sense. And that's actually a great example, because they took a ride, Maelstrom, that wasn't very popular, and they turned it into like one of the most in-demand rides at Epcot. The problem is that the ride system was not changed, and it's really, really low capacity. And so consequently, that ride went from like never having a wait to always having an extremely long wait. And if you apply that to like really any ride that is originating with a movie or a TV show where the priority is to make it so that you can experience the movie or the TV show, as opposed to prioritizing things like, well, is this actually going to like move guests out of walkways, and can we like get a lot of people through this? They don't build rides like It's a Small World or Pirates of the Caribbean that just absolutely devour guests. Like, those are these super high capacity attractions, and they're like not really building those. Meanwhile, they're rolling out programs like Genie Plus and the park reservation system on the premise that it's going to save people time waiting in lines. And while that's partially true, it doesn't really seem to be solving any kind of a crowds problem for anybody. So it's like you have low capacity rides and high crowds, and like that's not good for the guest experience. And I think that's maybe what starts happening when you ignore the importance of designing things for theme parks as opposed to designing things just to get movies into the theme parks.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That was quite a tangent. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, that's okay. I'll be curious. I'm not going to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I will be curious. Universal's opening new parks. People are starting to get sneak peeks at what could be coming to these parks, and there are hints that Universal might start doing exactly what Disney did back in the day, which is to create attractions that aren't based on existing IP, to create truly new experiences that can become something on their own. It's not something we've seen Disney do in a long time. So Universal and Disney, Universal's always been down here and Disney's always been up here, but Universal is moving.
They're trying to close the gap, and I think one of the ways that they're really trying to do it, because I think they know that they can't catch up with like Disney's brand cachet.
Right.
But they do know that if they roll out like a ton of new roller coasters, that people are just going to start going there. They finally, Disney being they, announced an opening date for Tron, which I believe is late 2023. So I don't even think
Spring, I think.
Oh, yeah. Spring of 2023?
I believe so.
Okay, so the point is that I believe that from the announcement of the attraction to the announced opening date will be approximately 7 years. For an attraction that's not even an original attraction. It already exists in Shanghai.
Yeah.
They're duping it at Magic Kingdom. So, I mean, I know why. There's a lot of reasons that project was delayed. It's just that meanwhile, Universal is just cranking out new stuff. And their new park, Epic Universe, it kind of looks like it's going to eat Disney's lunch from where I'm standing.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like Disney has no plan. That's what it feels like to me.
Here's the thing. We're Disney fans. So we sound very cynical right now. It's because we want the best for them.
Yeah.
So should we talk about some Disney fun stuff?
Let's talk about the fun stuff.
Let's go to the fun stuff.
Okay. Starting with a pretty funny video of two grown men riding the teacups with completely straight faces, deadpan. Love these guys.
I love this video. This is Aesthetic Puppet on Twitter and For the Love of Theme Parks on YouTube. And I just love videos that are such simple concepts. And this one speaks to me in particular because if you've ever ridden the teacups with me, you found out that I can't contain myself on the teacups.
Who can?
I mean,
you in particular kind of howl.
I mean,
though.
I throw my head back and I cackle. Like, it does something to me that other rides do not do to me, and I can't really explain it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. But, I mean, I think I embarrass my son on the teacups with the way I laugh. And so to see someone who can actually sit there and keep a straight face, I couldn't do it. I actually couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, thanks for the video, gentlemen. It's seriously entertaining. Let's take a look at the next little fun thing. This came from Scott Gustin on Twitter. What's going on here?
This is an image of a notification on an Apple Watch
Right.
where the Apple Watch thinks you've been in a crash because it felt how your body jolted. Apparently, riding the Matterhorn bobsleds makes your Apple Watch think you've been in a collision.
I'm reading through the replies on this Twitter post. People are saying this happens like all the time.
Yeah.
It's never happened to me, but it's not hard to imagine, especially on the Matterhorn.
I mean, we've all had, the Matterhorn is one of the biggest offenders with the woof end to your roller coaster ride. There are others. I've had some pretty rough stops on like the Incredicoaster and a few others. So there's some heartbreaking happening, but the Matterhorn in particular.
Here's a cute thing. This is from D23.
He's so adorable.
They had Wally come out and meet some of the guests of D23. Wally's one of those like really rare meet and greets, and I feel like maybe it's because it must be challenging or he must malfunction or something. Same with R2-D2. I feel like they just roll R2-D2 out on special occasions. So there must be something about it that is difficult. But
He's so cute.
look at little Wally.
I know.
Wally. All right.
Well,
Wow.
let's end on the feel-good moment
Yeah.
of D23, and that would be Indiana Jones and Short Round reunited for the first time, I think they said in like 38 years or something like that. This is obviously Harrison Ford and Ke Quan, who played Short Round in Temple of Doom.
Right.
And then he also went on to Goonies fame around the same time as Data.
But really didn't do anything else after that.
He essentially disappeared
Here.
from
Here in the States.
He essentially left acting in the U.S. for about 35 years and has had like a resurgence in popularity. He says he saw the movie, what was it?
Crazy Rich
Crazy
Asians.
Rich Asians, and it showed him like, oh, wait, there is this opportunity.
Well,
in
there's
Hollywood.
finally parts, respectable parts for for Asian American actors, and so
he's back in the game in a big way, and he's going to be in Loki season 2.
Yeah, he's playing like a Time Variance Authority employee.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Harrison Ford was at D23 to announce and to show the trailer for Indiana Jones 5, which Ke Quan is not in.
Right. Well, let's be clear. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe they're just not telling us.
That is true, but that was
They
not
probably
part of
would
it.
have seen each other.
They were there for different things, and Ke Quan posted this picture on his Instagram, so that's where that came from originally.
Adorable.
Totally.
Well, I think that's about what we got for tonight.
Is that a show?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a show. Well, thank you for joining us. As always, we always enjoy hanging with you on these weekly live streams.
If you are digging what we do, please strike that like, and you can also subscribe and hit the bell icon as well. Do we want to look at any comments, or we want to just move right along?
Oh, hey, Tinkershell. I didn't realize you were there. Hello, it's nice to hear from you. She says, I really love the non-IP attractions. I just hope they don't go overboard with IP. We are right there with you.
A lot of people feel that way, where it's just, you know, the Disney park kind of have an identity that is separate from movies and TV in a lot of ways, and it does feel like that's kind of going away, that we're headed in that direction, and that does bum me out a little bit. Okay, well,
That's a wrap, everybody.
if you dig it, tell somebody about this show, tell a friend, tell a stranger, and join us next week. Until then, Black Lives Matter.